So is there a winning formula for retailers in this environment? Joining me now is the founder of the investing blog, Talented Blonde. We welcome Kristen Benz. Joining me from Raleigh is Brian Hamilton. He is the CEO of SageWorks. They are a consumer insight company that helps businesses analyze information. And in Chicago, we welcome Lee Eisenberg. He is author of Shoptimism, Why the American Consumer Will Keep on Buying No Matter What. Let's start on an optimistic note. Lee, I want to go to you first. What gives you such optimism that this environment isn't going to force people to hunker down, save what they have, and stop shopping, or at least cut down dramatically?
Well, I said I was shoptimistic, not optimistic. And
okay.
The subtitle of the book, as you just mentioned, was We'll Keep on Buying No Matter What. Well, in that no matter what, there are a lot of possibilities. The reason I am shoptimistic from a consumer point of view is that however tragic and difficult these last couple of years have been, I think most of us now are a lot more thoughtful, a lot more mindful, a lot more mindless about how to go out and spend our money. I think a certain degree of equilibrium has now come over us, and I think we're going to be looking to buy things that last longer, that have greater utility, greater quality. Yes, we're concerned about price, but we're also concerned about value, which is to say, are we paying the right price for something that's going to give us pleasure and that's going to work for a long time?
And Kristen, a lot of people shop online first, then go to the store, go specifically to the item they want. The old design of, as long as we bring them through the door, they're going to fill up the shopping cart. That doesn't play anymore because the consumer goes with an item in mind when they go to a store.
Well, and even more so now, to your point, and the fancy retail word for that is called conversion. So, you'll hear people tell you, hey, you know what? The parking lot at Walmart was packed. And therefore, that means that everyone's shopping. But it really doesn't mean that until they give you your, money at the register. So what folks are doing now, NPD Group came out with a statistic that said 65% of all Americans for the holiday shopping season value is the prime reason why they're going to do holiday shopping, and 45% are going to comparison shop. That's big for American shoppers. We don't like to hear no, and we like to do impulse buying. Not so anymore. So it's going to be very critical for retailers to get your dollar when you walk in the door.
Well, and Brian, there are these loss leaders that a lot of retailers have had, a flat screen TV for cost at $400 or whatever, that they say, well, that will bring customers in, and then once they're in, we'll be able to sell them something else. That model, even though it's being used right now in this holiday season, may not work anymore.
Yeah, I think it breaks a little bit differently, though, David, too. I think the other points are correct. But one thing, there's definitely a division. People today are buying what they need. In the data that we collect, it is very clear. If you are selling stuff that people need, basic commodities, things they need in our society, you're probably doing fine. Your sales haven't gone down. However, when you tip over to the luxury lines, anything discretionary, you got big problems if you're a vendor or retailer.
But Lee, a lot of folks, particularly as holidays are going to be shopping for some bling that people don't necessarily need. I mean, that's not going to stop entirely, is it?
Yeah, I was going to say you're hearing a lot these days about this phenomenon called frugal fatigue. We've got the buy itch again. And I think that's true in a lot of cases. I do think as the economy improves, we're not going to become Puritans about buying. I think we are going to impulsively buy as we did. We're going to buy for emotional reasons, not just rational reasons. But I do think we're going to buy those things within reason, and I hope within the boundaries of not busting a family's budget. There's a lot of pleasure and a lot of satisfaction to be had in buying, and that's another reason I'm shoptimistic, so long as that buying is kept within normal boundaries and sane boundaries.
Kristen, I'm looking for bling. I see the wedding ring. You got a nice engagement ring, et cetera, but you don't have a lot of bling on, and I don't see as much as I used to.
Well, I'm keeping that bling to a minimum because it's not necessarily cool anymore to be so blinged out, and frugality is the new reality of retail. And that's a note that a lot of retailers are going to learn if they haven't learned that already. So, yes.
What does that mean for a Tiffany, though? I mean, what does that mean for folks who specialize in bling?
Well, a diamond is forever. I mean, that's the best tagline of all advertising ever. So, to his prior point, yes, things that mean something, thoughtful gifting, that's very apparent this year. But also, you're going to get a lot of socks and underwear.
Brian, what about those stores who do specialize in stuff that we don't eat?
Sure, but look at it. Look at the data, though. Going back to the data, you can see clearly you know, if you're a Tiffany's, if you're on the luxury end, man, you are having big problems. The data is absolutely clear. We collect data on privately held companies throughout the U.S. The breakdown is as clear as I've ever seen it, David. If you are selling luxury items, you have problems. Now, I don't know if that'll last forever. It certainly may not go through the whole Christmas season, but the data for 2009 is super clear.
Well, we're going to be talking to some people who do rely on things that we don't need. We'll be getting back to our panel in just a minute. Coming up next, and partly because they put the purchase of those items off for so long, they finally had to do it. Let's bring back our panel. We have Kristen Benz, Lee Eisenberg, and Brian Hamilton. Good to see you all again. Kristen, this relationship that Best Buy has mastered between the internet service they have and the customer service that they have, the in-person, they do it better than most. Is it something a lot of other retailers have not yet got?
Absolutely. You know, if you look at Best Buy, they have the gold standard for customer service. And a lot of their footprints are really local footprints. So one city might have more soccer moms that are buying video games and DVDs for their kids. Then one market might have more large screen TVs. And they actually make that footprint customized for that customer. And then on top of it, they have the Geek Squad. They'll come to your house and set up your, enormous television, which I needed help with. Yeah. So yeah, they get my vote.
Well, Brian, Circuit City did that. I mean, they had the Geek Squad as well. They came to my home and set up my TV, but they didn't survive. And the fact is that they didn't. It seemed that they weren't doing enough in training the people on the floor to deal with customers.
Right. There's got to be an integration between prices, products, and people, and the stores that do the best job at that are going to do well. I think that's true in any economy. You can certainly see it with Best Buy.
I want to ask Lee, but first to Mike. Mike, how do you train the people on the store floor? Because a lot of retailers look to you as the gold model, the golden boys on the block. What kind of training procedures do you have for the floor employees?
I said all of the Best Buy employees, whether they're temporaries or seasonal employees or full-time employees, get about 40 hours of training before they actually get onto the floor and deal with customers. And then they're constantly on their own on internet training, learning about products. We have our manufacturers and our merchant teams that go into the stores and work with them. So they're constantly being trained in two ways. One is how to deal with customers and how to ask customers what are they trying to do with the things that they're buying so we can make sure they get the right products. And then obviously knowing the technical aspects of them so they can answer the questions that people have.
Well, Lee, this training costs money, and a lot of retailers just don't want to spend it right now.
They don't want to spend it. I actually worked at Target myself on the floor a couple years ago, so I got some of that kind of training. It was actually very interesting. But, I want to go back to one point that was made about the Internet. Yes, we do research, but what's really important now and what's revolutionizing how consumer behavior is this thing called social media, which is we not only will go to Best Buy to research prices or benefits and features of products, but we go to Best Buy and we go to all kinds of other sites to find out what people like us are saying about specific products before we make a move. Study after study will come out and say that 85% of us would rather trust what the rest of us say about something than necessarily take the word of a store or an advertising agency. And that's one of the truly most profound revolutions that is going on right now. We are empowered in a way as consumers that we were never, in a way that we were never before, and we're taking some of that power away from traditional marketers.
Tristan?
Well, the opinion leads. And there's a retail company that's in the midst of a turnaround, a surf company called Pacific Sunwear or PacSun. And they're having a really rough time, but they have mastered social media where if you go on Facebook and you change your picture to their logo, you'll get a 20% off coupon you can print out and take into the store.
Wow.
That is clever.
That's very clever. So are more and more companies doing that? Mike Vitelli, do you have anything like that, little bonuses that you can provide for going online?
Well, a couple of things we're doing in the online space, because social media is absolutely correct. One of the things we did a year ago on BestBuy.com is added customer ratings to our products. So most of the products that you go on and search on BestBuy.com, you can see and read customer ratings and see what real consumers just like you and I think about the products and not just what the retailer or the manufacturer thinks about them.
But do you actually, Mike, take cues from those surveys? Do you really use those surveys to alert your buyers to get something else if it's not working?
Well, absolutely, because two things that happen. One is you get immediate customer response about what they think about it. Manufacturers are reading those every day. And fundamentally, it changes the rate of sale on those products based upon what the consumers think about it. And that affects the assortment and our purchase plans.
All right, Mike Vitale, Congratulations. Best of luck this holiday season. Kristen Benz, Lee Eisenberg, and Brian Hamilton, thank you as well. Coming up on deck,